This is a trap fight for Terence Crawford. This fight right here is a manager's dream, a professional boxing manager's dream for the fighter that he or she is representing to get an opportunity of a lifetime like this is a manager's dream. I'm speaking from experience as a manager. It's a manager's dream because if you look at the activity that David Avanesyan has done in the past year alone, you will discover that he has fought a total of 3 times already leading up to this fight against Terence Crawford. And as we know that as of a year, Terence Crawford only fought 1 time, and that's when he fought Shawn Porter last November of 2021. Now, let me be clear on something. I am fully aware on paper, according to BoxRec. Now, BoxRec is like up in the air. Sometimes you can take some of the things that's being reported through BoxRec, or sometimes you can't. So it's kind of up in the air. But for the sake of this video, in the scope of this video, we're just going to take everything that's being reported through BoxRec as a solid, right? So according to BoxRec, I am fully aware that Terence Crawford has a 5.5-inch reach advantage over David Avanesyan. Terence Crawford reach is about 74 inches. Okay, he stands at 5'8" or 5 feet tall, 8 inches with a 74-inch reach advantage, right? Now, I'm also aware that David Avanesyan's reach disadvantage stands at a 68.5-inch reach. I'm fully aware of that. And I believe he also stands 5 feet tall, 8 inches. Now, even with that being said, let's just take a look at the last 3 fights that David Avanesyan had, right? And it started out in February of 2021. And then 8 months later, he fought in October of 2021. And then 5 months after that, in March of 2022, he fought again. And in all 3 of those fights, they ended in a technical knockout against 2 undefeated fighters and another fighter who had 23 wins and only 1 loss. And this is why David Avanesyan is the European champion. Now, let's put this in perspective. So in 2021, he fought 2 fights within 8 months. And here in 2022, fighting Terence Crawford next Saturday, that means that he'll be fighting 2 fights in 2022, 9 months apart. When you have a fighter active like that, and when I mean active, let me be clear on what I mean. It takes 8 to 10 weeks most of the time, especially at that level, to be in training camp. So he was already in training camp after his first fight of this year in March. After he took his little break, he got back into training camp because remember, David Avanesyan was already scheduled to fight someone in November this month in another country and to defend his European title. So he has already been active in the gym, in training camp, though he was preparing for another opponent. And of course, based on the great things that his manager, Neil Marsh, has done, he was able to talk to the British Boxing Control Board to allow David Avanesyan to basically drop his fight that he had out there to come and compete in America for a more lucrative fight against Terence Crawford. And so now he's already waiting, itching to fight. He already is actively in the gym training. I'm not saying that Terence Crawford has not been actively in the gym training. I would like to say and assume that he is and that he was training. What I'm saying is he's going up against a fighter who has been active for the entire year of 2021 and now the entire year of 2022, okay? When you have a fighter that's active like that, who has knocked out his last 3 opponents, who's really good on the inside, something that Terence Crawford is not good at on the inside, fighting on the inside, making contact, bullying fighters against the rope. And don't forget that 2 out of the last 3 fighters that David Avanesyan fought, they were all 2 inches taller than him, and they all had a minimum of at least a 3 or 4 inch reach advantage over him. So he was able to neutralize their jab, move his head, get on the inside based on having good footwork and throwing punches, and he was successful. And so I believe this is a trap fight for Terence Crawford. Terence Crawford might be the favorite to win. He might win. I'm not going as far as to say David Avanesyan is going to win this fight. But I am going as far as to say that David Avanesyan is going to expose Terence Crawford in this fight. And we've seen this happen time and time again, where someone was a last-minute replacement or someone was filling in because one fighter wasn't able to fight the fighter that they were supposed to fight originally. And then even if the fighter that was supposed to win, even if they won, it didn't look good. Something looked off on based on the opposition that they were fighting. We saw this in Isaac Cruz. That's why a lot of us Americans respect and love Isaac Cruz, because when Tank Davis was scheduled to fight someone else, Isaac Cruz, he was a last-minute replacement. And Isaac Cruz did lose that fight. But Isaac Cruz won the fans in that fight because he looked good. He looked durable in his fight against Tank, even though Tank was only fighting with one hand halfway through the fight. Even in the beginning, Isaac Cruz, he made his statement known. And I think that's the same thing that David Avanesyan is going to do next Saturday against Terence Crawford. This is a trap fight. And it will be a sad day if Terence Crawford loses this fight. But let's just say that he won't lose. He will get exposed. In fact, David Avanesyan is a 7-1 underdog in this fight. So for all you sports bettors out there, if you really believe in your heart that David Avanesyan has a shot to win this fight, and you lay that money down, whew, you're going to come up big. You're going to come up big. But the point is that Terence Crawford is in a trap fight. Just like Tank Davis is in a trap fight with Hector Garcia. Hector Garcia is not going to lay down. Even though he's moving up in weight 5 more pounds, he's not going to lay down for Tank. Tank's also in a trap fight. We've seen this time and time again in the sport of boxing. Hey, we seen Andy Ruiz, last-minute replacement. You remember that time when Big Baby Miller was scheduled to fight Anthony Joshua, and I think he got popped with steroid use and PED use, and they had to use Andy Ruiz as a last-minute replacement. I think it was 2 or 3 weeks' notice or something like that. And guess what happened? Andy Ruiz, he went over to another country, took care of business. Y'all remember that? He went over there, took care of business, and became the first. Y'all know what I'm about to say. Heavyweight champ of the world, representing Mexico. Remember? So these things happen in boxing. But when you have a fighter that's active as Andy Ruiz was, that's how he looked so good against Joshua. You got an active fighter in David Avanesyan, and that's why he's going to look a little good against Crawford. This is a trap fight for Crawford. Crawford better be on point, and he better make sure he's training real good. Because if he loses this fight, everybody knows it's over. But let's say he wins. This is a trap fight for Terence Crawford, and I got my money on David Avanesyan in this fight. And I'm not saying I got my money on him winning, because I ain't into betting. But what I'm saying is I got my money on him exposing Terence Crawford. You heard it first live right here with Manager Marty.